What's up, Mushroom Fam? It's Gary with Fresh from the Farm Fungi. I'm here in my lab in Denver, Colorado, and today I wanted to dive into how I preserve my reishi mushrooms. So I did a video a year and a half ago about our freeze dryer, and I was really curious in preserving the mycelium. So here are some of our samples we have left from our freeze-dried mycelium. If you're interested in checking that video out, I'll post the link right up here. So working with the Harvest Right freeze dryer for over a year and a half, I have messed around a lot with different foods and product types, and I am blown away by how it preserves fresh reishi mushrooms. Now, before I get into the video, I have a couple public service announcements. We just dropped these new hats on our Etsy shop. They are some really nice leather printed hats if you want to help support our company. We've got black ones and gray ones. And then also, in response to a larger and larger queue of questions that throughout all the social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, I try to keep up on answering all the questions that you guys give me, but there's starting to become a backlog. So I decided to have 2 slots per week open for one-on-one consultations. So I'll do a video right now on how to get to our one-on-one consultations, but basically you just pick a time on Thursdays. That's kind of my slower day, and Thursday afternoons are open. And if you'd like to reserve a one-on-one 1-hour consultation, or you can buy up both slots if you want, that way you'll get priority over this building queue. I'm working on answering all the questions I can, so if I don't respond right away, be patient. But I thought that this would be a good solution to all the amounts of questions that I'm getting, and I try to pool those questions together and create videos based on those. This one in particular, what do I do in order to preserve my mushrooms, especially for making tinctures and functional mushroom products? So I have been freeze drying our lion's mane mushrooms for over a year now, and this is what we use for our hericium products as well as just culinary purposes. So it really holds the texture nice and firm, almost like a fresh lion's mane, and then the flavors are there because the Harvest Right drops down into -80 degrees, and that preserves all those volatiles, such as the ones in this beautiful reishi mushroom here. So this is a reishi mushroom, or Ganoderma lucidum. This particular grow block was gifted by our friends up in Sedalia, so shout out to Amanda and Butch for hooking me up with this reishi. It's a beautiful strain, definitely gives off nice antlers. My friend Zach at Mushroom Cult also grows a lot of reishi mushrooms this way, and it's simple. You just leave the bag sealed, and over time it will develop these antler structures because there's a high CO2 environment, so it affects the way that it's growing, and eventually you'll get some really nice fruiting bodies like this. So we have our own reishi strain on our Etsy shop, Fresh Fungi, so check out that if you're interested. Reishi is a very powerful mushroom. It has ganodermic acids which help to stimulate your immune system. I won't get into that right now, but some of these medicinal compounds are easily off-gassed during a traditional drying process. So I decided to test out the reishi mushrooms in the Harvest Right freeze dryer, which I'll put a link to the Harvest Right in the description below. I highly recommend this product to anyone getting into the functional mushroom or medicinal mushroom world because it is a game changer. The most exciting part about using a freeze dryer to preserve reishi mushrooms is that it creates these little air pockets when it dries, and it gives it a really good texture for making a powder to do an extraction. So traditionally, when you dry a reishi mushroom, it gets really firm and woody, and it's really tough to break apart even in a fresh state. But when the temperature is dropped so drastically, ice crystals form inside the reishi cells, and that will break apart the chitin and release all those volatiles. And what that does is it kind of breaks the structure of the mushroom, which gives it that woody texture. So afterwards, it's really nice and soft, and it almost has like a styrofoamy feel to it. And on top of that, because of that temperature drop, it's preserving those volatiles. So I started storing my reishi. I'm going to be doing a big bulk tincture run at the end of the season. I'm currently getting a bunch of testing done on my first batch of tinctures, so stay tuned for that. But essentially, I will harvest these and run a 24-hour cycle, and I'll go through that process right now to show you the end results, which are incredible. It's way better than drying or even using a fresh mushroom, in my opinion. All right, guys, so here is this beautiful Ganoderma, and you can see that it's starting to drop spores, so it's probably not ideal that I do this in the lab, but I really like the lighting, and it's the cleanest way to get a really good end product. So basically I'll just go through and use some really sharp shears and clip off these antlers into this beautiful medicinal mushroom. Alright everyone, so there's still quite a bit of tissue left on top of this reishi block, but I'm going to bury it in my yard and see if I can get some really nice conchs to form from this block, because it's still really healthy and has some weight to it. So I'll try to get a second flush outside by just burying it in the dirt and then covering it up to the point where it's starting to pin. This is what I got out of my first batch. So I'll do a quick weight on this. So we got just over a half a pound from our first flush. I'm going to split this into 2 different trays so that it dries a little faster. So I've got my freeze dryer set up right next to my dehydrator, and I've got my trays that are ready to go in. So one important thing to know about these freeze dryers is you have to kind of have an inventory of this pump oil. So after it drops the temperature down to -80, it will kick on this vacuum pump, and that pulls out water as it slowly rises back up to a room temperature. That's how these work. It's all automated, so it's really easy. You just push start and then it walks you through the different steps. All you have to do is just load these up and make sure that they're not squished. And then it also comes with this insulating pad. So all you'll do is throw this in there. One option for doing larger runs is that you can pre-freeze the reishi in a deep freezer, and there's an option for that. I just did 1 grow block because I had a pretty large amount earlier this spring, and I wanted to just kind of do a video to show you guys how miraculous that is. So once again, I'll throw the link in the description below. But until then, I'll just run this guy and show you the results. All right, almost forgot my lion's mane mushrooms. So basically you want to load the racks so that they're not touching the surface of that pad, which is the heater, after it freezes and heats it up to a temperature that the water evaporates and the pump can remove that excess water. So another thing to be aware of when you're using these is that there's a little valve, a drain valve, so that when it's defrosting, all that water that's pulled out of the mushroom drains off into this bucket. So you want to make sure that that's closed. And then it comes with this insulator pad. So I just put this on there. and I already dialed it in to a process that's really nice for reishi mushrooms and lion's mane, but you can play with that with the customized menu. So after it's locked in there, I just go ahead and press the start button, and you can hear the freezer kick on, and then it gives you an option for pre-frozen or not frozen. So these ones were fresh, not frozen, so I'll click that. And now it's reminding me to close the drain valve. And now it's freezing. Alright, so our run just ended. The trays will usually be warm if you catch it right away, otherwise the temperature just starts to drop to freeze that dried product. But I'll open this up and see how they turned out. So you can see these look really nice and brittle. I'll pull them out. Alright guys, so you can see how beautiful these came out. What you're seeing on the surface here are all the spores, which have also been freeze dried. That's a beautiful looking reishi mushroom. Alright, so the last step is to defrost it, and it basically just melts all the ice on the inside and drains it into this bucket that we have down here. Alright guys, so this is the reishi after the freeze dry. You can see it's got really nice texture, and what you're seeing here are the spores. So it actually freeze dried all the reishi spores, which if you're really careful you could probably separate these, and there's definitely a use for the spores. They have different properties than the fruiting body, but I just wanted to show you guys what it was like, how brittle they are. So you can feel it is very brittle, and this will powder up really nicely, and if you're careful you could definitely separate off the spores. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed that video on freeze drying reishi mushrooms. So it definitely gives it a really nice, almost like a popcorny texture, which will be easily ground up and turned into a concentrate. Subscribe if you're looking forward to more mycology videos like these. I usually just package them in a grow bag, and I'm saving up some for our next batch of tinctures, and these will make a great addition. And like I said before, if you're really careful you can definitely separate out those reishi spores, but I'm just going to collect them all into one bag and preserve them for our next batch of tinctures, which stay tuned because we will be listing those on our Etsy as soon as we get our final testing approved, along with our lion's mane mushrooms and our cordyceps. Alright guys, here's the final product. I'll heat seal this and stash it away at room temperature until it's time to extract all of those beautiful ganodermic acids. Until next time, much love.